Today, with the consumption of cheese running into many thousands of tons annually, a fine balance of science and traditional skills is the basis of successful cheesemaking in the modern creamery. The basis of all cheese is milk, which is drawn from herds such as this, in the best dairy country. Every day, the familiar blue and white milk collection vehicles pick up the milk from the farms. From here, it's taken to one of the company's country creameries, where it will be made into cheese. But first, the milk is inspected for quality, and this man, with his highly developed sense of smell, can tell immediately if the milk is not up to standard. The laboratory also checks for freshness and the right balance of fats and solids. The conversion of milk into cheese is brought about by a controlled biological process, introduced in the form of a special culture known as a starter, since it starts the cheese-making process. It's first prepared in very small quantities in the laboratory. Here, one of the strains is being used to inoculate the initial preparation, known as the mother culture. All the instruments and the milk used must be completely sterile, so that unwanted organisms cannot interfere with the action of the starter. A series of different cultures are ripened, and selections are made from these at frequent intervals in order to ensure that the most active strains are used. When the mother culture has incubated, it is used to inoculate a larger quantity of milk to make a working culture. After incubation, it is introduced into these stainless steel tanks, each containing 250 gallons of sterile milk, to make a bulk starter. This will be fed into the milk line at the right moment, and enough is made to cater for the requirements of a whole day. In the cheese room, the final preparations are being made to the vats and coolers, and after the milk has been pasteurized to kill off harmful bacteria, it is piped through to the vats. At the height of summer, the intake can be as high as 60,000 gallons daily, so that a strict routine has to be observed in the creamery. Once the starter is fed into the milk line, the process of development is continuous. And with as many as a dozen vats to supervise, the cheesemaker relies on good teamwork to keep things running smoothly. It is important that the acidity of the milk increases at a steady rate, and the temperature in the vats must be kept constant all the time. At intervals, the cheesemaker calls for a sample to be drawn off for testing. From the information obtained, he can keep a close watch on the acidity, which has such a vital bearing on the flavor and quality of the finished cheese. The moment it has reached its correct level, rennet is added, which coagulates the milk solids in the same way as when a junket is made. After the rennet has been thoroughly stirred in, the contents of the vat are left to set. The coagulum takes between half an hour and an hour to form, and when it breaks smoothly and cleanly over the fingers, it's ready for cutting. The action of these rotating blades as they cut through the coagulum releases the whey from the curd. Additional heat applied to the vat causes the curd particles to contract and further whey to be released. Stirring continues until the curd particles are firm enough. The cutters are then stopped and the curd is allowed to settle. This is known as pitching, and the cheesemaker's experience tells him when the process is complete. He makes another check on the acidity development for further information on the progress of the cheese. And at the right moment, he stops the stirring gear, and the contents of the vat are released into the cooler. After the curds and whey have been in the cooler for a short while, the curds are gently raked into the sides, leaving a channel in the middle for the whey to flow easily away. The curd is stacked and crumbled to make an even surface each side of the cooler, and as it settles, it knits together sufficiently to be cut into blocks. Throughout the process, the acidity continues its development. These blocks are turned continually to assist the last of the whey to drain off. Turning and piling, the blocks become progressively flatter, smoother, and more elastic. This is cheddaring, and it gives the cheese its firm texture and character. After about 2 hours, the curd has the texture of white chicken meat. Again, the cheesemaker relies on his sense of touch in deciding whether the cheddar curd is ready for milling. When he's satisfied, a final check of the acidity is made. As there's no longer any free way to do the test, an accurate electronic instrument is used to determine the final acid content. The next stage is for the curd to be fed into the mill. It is cut into regular chips, and salt is added. This controls the acid-forming process in the cheese. The salt and curd are mixed thoroughly together by the vibration in these trays, and at the same time, it is moved forward to the molds. The cheese molds can either be rectangular for cheese which is to be cut into blocks for film wrapping, or round for making the traditional shaped cheeses. Most English cheeses are pressed in the molds, and this has an important bearing on the texture and appearance of the finished cheese. First, the excess whey is squeezed out. Then the molds are loaded onto gang presses. These cylinders apply immense pressure, an equivalent weight of 2 tons on each cheese. This forces out the last of the free whey, and the cheese becomes firm and evenly textured. The round molds are treated in exactly the same way. From the presses, the new cheeses are stored for a day or so to dry out. They are turned continually so that the air can get to all the surfaces. Later, they are sealed by dipping them in liquid wax, after which they can be left to mature slowly over several weeks. The stores are designed for a continuous stream of cool, fresh air to circulate among the cheeses so that they ripen steadily and evenly. The final test for quality is in the grading, and here skill and judgment are all-important requirements. The official grader assesses the color and general appearance of the cheese, judges the texture and the body, and finally, the aroma and maturity. A fine quality cheese is a tribute to the teamwork and organization in the creamery. Cheddar, although probably the most popular, is not the only cheese made by the Express Dairy. Cheshire has been manufactured in this country for even longer than Cheddar, and many people prefer its more open texture and slightly acid flavor. The manufacturing process is very similar, but the curd is allowed to become more acid, and instead of being stacked, it's broken up to produce the characteristic flaky texture. The finished cheese is often colored with a vegetable extract, which gives it a rich appearance without affecting the flavor. Derby is another cheese made by the Express Dairy. It has a clean, mild flavor with rather less acidity than most other cheeses. For the connoisseur, there is sage Derby. Chopped sage leaves add a pleasant herbal flavor to the curd, which is packed in the molds in alternate layers, and gives the finished cheese its striking and colorful appearance. Finally, there is Wensleydale. First made in the monasteries of the Yorkshire Dales, it's another flaky textured cheese. By tradition, cheeses have always been round, but modern selling methods have called for a shape which is easier to cut and pack. These rectangular blocks are identical to the round cheddars, and here they're wrapped in wax paper, which is heat-sealed to form a permanent coating. This produces a virtually rindless cheese, and is of great advantage to the retailer in handling and storage. Another method which can be used for cheese of almost any shape and size is vacuum packing in plastic bags. Immersed in hot water, the bag shrinks to form a tight skin round the cheese. Shortly before they have reached the required maturity, the cheeses are taken to the packing station and cut into 6 and 8 ounce portions for sealing in laminated polythene pouches. The cheese continues to develop in the film so that by the time it's consumed, it will be in prime condition. During packing, storage and transport, it will be kept continually at 40 degrees Fahrenheit. And in the shops, the cut sections are kept on temperature-controlled countertops. By this method, a wide variety of cheese in convenient sizes can be displayed in perfect condition without any of the waste or drying out which might occur without this protection. So far, we have followed only one product of the cheese-making process, the curd. But 900 of every 1,000 gallons of milk is whey, and this too has its uses. It contains milk sugar, or lactose, together with some of the salts and minerals, and even a little butter fat. The whey first goes through a coarse strainer to remove the remains of the curd, before being piped through separators which extract the remaining butter fat. This is used to make whey butter, which is produced in these giant churns. This butter has a characteristic flavor and is used mostly in confectionery manufacture. Although the quantity of butter fat trapped in the whey is very small, with a large turnover, the making of whey butter is a worthwhile process. The rest of the whey consists largely of water, which is extremely bulky. Condensing removes about half of it, turning the whey into a viscous liquid with a consistency similar to custard. In the spray drying plant, fast currents of very hot air remove all the remaining moisture, and the liquid arrives at the bottom of the tower in powder form. After a final heat process to dry it completely, it is packed into paper sacks for use in confectionery or as animal feed. No survey would be complete without mentioning cottage cheese, whose popularity has greatly increased over recent years. Cottage cheese differs from others in that it's made from skimmed milk, that is, fresh milk from which the cream has been drawn off. It is not pressed, and the soft, crumbly curd is an ideal basis for salads. English cheese has always been one of our most widely enjoyed foods, and also one of the most individual. Eaten on its own, or as a companion to wine, it's the basis of many dishes, and an essential ingredient of hundreds more. In the final analysis, the secret of good cheese making is teamwork. The Express Dairy Company, now one of the largest cheese producers in the country, has always been a family concern, and is proud of the spirit that holds it together. The daily arrival of the milk at the creameries and the dispatch of the finest English cheeses to the market reflects the close partnership that exists between science and human skill.